So Christopher Nolan's feat to bring home as the Odyssey to the big screen is finally here, and yeah, just the production and what kind of like has what the cast and crew have had to kind of like go through just to bring this to the big screen. It does feel like an absolute feat. It really does because we have Christopher Nolan's a directing style here, who always is a director that. Wants to catch just as much in camera action as possible. We basically, he's not a guy who really likes to use CGI if he doesn't have to. So that's something that I've really kind of like admired about his by him as a director. And so yeah, basically how this movie was supposed to be shot entirely with like IMAX cameras as well. So when you kind of like pull all these kind of like elements together, essentially what you have here is an experience that just feels so tangible and so tactile. And you know, when you have like people kind of like on the boats in the middle of storms and everything, you kind of like feel that there's none of these you know, when you kind of like when you're following them on the boats and it's night, like it's really like you can hardly see a thing as you would in that case. There's none of this sort of like wide scope, wide sweeping you know, Hollywood kind of like epic the thing about it just feels so lived in, and it feels so and I think that's the biggest credit that you can give to this movie. So for anybody like who's kind of like unfamiliar with the story of the Odyssey here, so here we basically have Matt Damon playing Odysseus. He's basically making his way back after fighting in the Trojan War. He's trying to make his way back home. Similarly, we have like a subplot here where his son, played by Tom Holland, kind of needs answers to whether his father is still alive or not. So he kind of goes on his own quest to kind of like find out these answers. And yeah, I think that, you know, we get a star-studded cast here, and I think every one of them does a really bang-up job. I really do. I think Matt Damon in particular as Odysseus, and Anne Hathaway as his wife, I think in particular really stand out here. And yeah, there's been quite a lot of that's been made about the casting of this. There's been quite a lot of controversies about the casting here, and yeah, it's just to kind of like comment on that for a moment. When you actually like see this movie, like you just end up being how much of kind of like a nothing point that is, because yeah, I think when you have these like reports and it's sort of just taken a face value and it's not kind of like given any sort of like context here, you know, when you kind of you find like a Travis Scott is in this, and Elliot Page is in this, and you go, okay, yeah, what are you actually kind of like to do here? But then like you know, then you go and see this movie, and like I said, the movie just like clocks in like just under 3 hours. And yeah, if you kind of like, you know, take Elliot Page or Travis Scott or any of the cast members that were like kind of like the controversy kind of like went at, if you put all of their scenes together, it would make up about 10 minutes, you know, of the movie. So it just really doesn't, like, you know, it really doesn't. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying that means that you have to mostly like a decision that of them being in this movie. You know, you don't have to like they're in this movie. That's kind of like totally your prerogative. But saying is like, even if you didn't like seeing them in this movie, it's like 7 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So it just, you know, then it's kind of like, okay, so what were your comments on the other like 2 hours and 40 minutes, you know, whatever. So it just, yeah, it feels like, yeah, it just feels like such a kind of like a nothing comment. And so yeah, moving on. I think that there was some really unexpected real moments of like true horror here, and which was kind of like unexpected. Sure, and then, you know, obviously we were gonna get like some of this like fantastical Greek mythology like stuff. Like obviously we were like we have like Cyclops and all of that kind of stuff popping up. But yeah, just I never kind of like thought that we were gonna get go so deep into kind of like these little real scenes of like true horror. I believe like Christopher Nolan said previously in an interview that he would be totally open to making a horror movie, and if it like the little teasers and the flashes of that we kind of get in this movie or anything to go by, I am totally down for that. I am totally intrigued to see what a Christopher Nolan horror film would look like and what he kind of like could bring to the genre. But yeah, similar to the Homer's Odyssey, here the story basically unfolds in a very kind of like non-linear fashion. So in that sense, like the two kind of like really complement each other here. Yeah, I just thought overall, guys, that this was a really solid film. I was hoping to because of this movie being shot entirely in IMAX, I was hoping to see this movie in IMAX. But the nearest IMAX cinema to me was about 20 miles away, and I was like prepared to make a journey, but then after I had like finished work and I would have made the journey, the next IMAX showing that I could have taken would have been like about 10 o'clock at night or something like that. So yeah, it just so for now I kind of like had to make do with a basic bog standard version of this. Yeah, I'm hoping to kind of like see it in IMAX at some point, so I just got that kind of like basis for comparison. But yeah, absolutely, guys. I thought that this was just a totally immersive experience. Like I said, this movie just clocks in like just shy of like 3 hours, but it really didn't feel like 3 hours. The film really went by really solidly. There was never a time when I was just kind of like clock watching or anything like that. I was like really kind of like immersed throughout. So yeah, I think that talk about the stars of the cast here, I think that it is the only thing like slight negative I can give it, because like I said, although I think all the stars of the cast do a really good job and the performances are really strong here, I think that just because Christopher Nolan's directing style here, obviously, because he's so committed to just giving you this really tangible and a really tactile and immersive experience with this movie. I think that just the stars of the cast just kind of ends up being a bit counterintuitive with that. I think that, when you have scenes where it's got like Spider-Man and the Punisher are kind of like talking to each other and you're like, oh, they've got a film coming out like a couple of weeks or whatever, just like little moments like that kind of just take you out of the moment or take you out of a character a little bit. But yeah, that's just like a little kind of like nitpick. But on overall, guys, like I thought that this was like a really phenomenal film, and I would absolutely urge you guys to go out and see it at the cinema, because yeah, the scope that this film has, obviously this is just one of those films that just demands to be seen on the big screen. A lot of people who have kind of like seen it on IMAX are saying go out and see it in IMAX. I can't go against that. Obviously I haven't seen it in IMAX yet, so I can't be like an advocate of that. But yeah, just whichever way whatever you decide to do, just go out and see it, because yeah, this absolutely demands to be seen on the big screen. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your own thoughts of the Odyssey were, if you've seen it. If you haven't, what's your excitement level for the movie, all of that stuff. And let me know what your thoughts on like Christopher Nolan in general as a director are, all of that stuff. Let me know down in the comment section. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.